increase that we've had over the last few months. So our sales tax has been good. We have got a good county manager. We've got good folks working for us, and the budgets that we work each year have been budgets that have been manageable and that we're able to do some things with. The challenge in the future is going to be that, you know, we have some buildings that are getting old. We've got growth. For instance, 3 years ago when we provided an animal shelter, that shelter is already full. We're planning to expand it this year. Our aging population is getting a little bit more than ever, and the use of our senior citizen center is tremendous, and we're going to begin our first phase of adding to that. Believe it or not, we're still paying for the courthouse and jail, but when the courthouse was built, a lot of people didn't think it would ever be filled. The courthouse is fully used now. So when you look at the future, you think, well, gosh, there that stands. And then, of course, the water and sewer is a separate entity, but that's always going to be a challenge for us, is to be able to do those resources. And then I think the greatest thing that bothers me is our ability to handle the roads and the streets. We just don't get enough money any year to do what we need to do with that. We do about 20 miles a year of paving. Paving is very expensive, it's about $1 million a mile. And we know that the roads are going to be taxed more and more as we go into the future. So that's going to be a major problem for us. But budget-wise, we're good looking into next year. And we've been very fortunate to come through this particular crisis that we've had. And I think it's because we've had some good industrial and growth that year that's helped us do that.
Mr. Mitchell, question 2 to you. Tell us what challenges you see for the county's budget and what should be prioritized over the next 4 years.
Okay, so definitely a challenge I would see currently is just, you know, what's going on nationwide with COVID and, you know, how particularly our small businesses, I think, have been strained. Hopefully that's getting better over time, but initially, you know, just the lack of people, you know, going into businesses, our restaurants, our local stores really suffered. I hope they're going to get more assistance to make it through the short-term bump. I have seen other counties that actually provided assistance to the small businesses in their community. So I could see that as something maybe that in the short term could help any that are struggling to stay afloat. I hope that we do as much as we can to keep our local businesses because they bring the most benefit to our community as far as revenue, sales tax, but also the wages, you know, stay in the community instead of, you know, going to a CEO in some other state or country. So keeping our small businesses intact, helping them get through this, you know, immediate challenge here, but also then long-term thinking about, you know, how our economy is transferring, the global economy, including, you know, electric cars and renewable energy and these transitions. Are we prepared? And technologically, do we have the internet service, you know, to support high-tech industry, to support people that work from home? So providing the infrastructure that would allow Jackson County to keep up and be competitive with other communities.
Mr. Hicks, you went first for question 2. You have a chance for a 30-second rebuttal. Would you like to say anything?
I just mentioned one thing that I forgot. Our unemployment rate in January was 2.7%. And in June, in April, it was 11%. Now we're back down in August to 3.6%. And I suspect probably today we're back close to that 2.7, which is great for us because at one time we had the lowest employment rate in the state. So we've come through this pandemic, I think, well.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchum, question number 3 to you. The Northeast Georgia Inland Port is slated to open in Gainesville in 2021. What impact will that have on Jackson County, and how should we prepare for it?
Absolutely. So I'm actually originally from Spartanburg, South Carolina, and they had an inland port that was built in the town of Greer, South Carolina, that kind of helps support BMW and a lot of big industries there. And so I've watched how they've dealt with this this issue, I guess. And there's two things. One, there's a huge benefit to having these inland ports as far as logistics, so supply chain and logistics, and bringing that in from, Savannah or Charleston or wherever to Gainesville gives access to this part of the state to all these goods and services. But I guess one of my main concerns with it would be traffic. Most of that, I think, would go by rail, and that's good because those companies need that, traveling to bring them revenue. But our roads really concern me. If we start having more truck traffic coming up either 441 or 129, those areas have been developed so heavily with residential. And trust me, I know because I live right off 129. Crossing that road is like playing Frogger a lot of times during the day. And there's a resistance by the state to put traffic lights on there because they want to keep, traffic flowing and get people to UGA and all that. But the people that live here, our lives are threatened when we increase traffic on there. And trucks especially are concerning. We had 2, high school kids that were killed right here at Beef O'Brady's, that red light, because a truck was traveling too quickly and couldn't stop. So I think safety is my main concern, but I fully support the idea of having an inland port because of the jobs it brings and all the support jobs for that inland port too. It's been a huge boon in Greer, South Carolina, and I think it will be for our area too.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchum. Mr. Hicks, same question to you. Question number 3, the Northeast Georgia Inland Port is slated to open in Gainesville in 2021. What impact will that have on Jackson County, and how should we prepare for it?
Well, it will increase, I think, the warehouse population. I think that's inevitable. We just recognize that Walmart now, I think, is trying to compete with Amazon. We now have 4 Amazon warehouses in the county. We've got a big Walmart warehouse that's coming on board, which all of that is e-commerce, of course, and all of these items coming out of those will be trucked. I think it will bring more need for warehouses in the area. That will be good, and it will, it'll provide more of a tax base for us, but it also will, as my opponent says, it will create some traffic problems. Hopefully, since we do have 5 exits on the interstate, it will enable us to get that truck traffic there and maybe get it on up the Gainesville direction. But it will be a positive for us, I think, very much, because it will bring, related industry there. There's no question about that. And we'll certainly help the rail industry that runs through Commerce and Jefferson also.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Any rebuttal from you, Mr. Mitchum?
I would just also be a little wary about the incentives that we give sometimes for warehouses and how much. It's good to incentivize growth, but if that burden then is shifted onto residents that have to pay for the roads and the schools, and we get crowded classrooms, I just worry about that balance between the people that live here versus the companies that come here.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hicks, final question to you. Question number 4, what can the county do to improve access to broadband in some of our underserved rural areas?
I can almost hold my hands up. It's very frustrating. We have tried, I guess from the standpoint of the county, we have not, offered financial help, I think we could if they were willing. What we've found is that people always talk in terms of, they've got to have a certain number or certain population before they'll want to bring that broadband there. It is expensive, but I think it's inevitable. I don't know that I have a solution, for how we can do it. We've talked with a lot of folks we had an independent group that was planning to come in the county, and we thought they were, and then of course they backed out. But your big guys that are out there, I think eventually will come. But it's very frustrating for us, and all I can say is that we'll continue to work toward it and try to bring more on. We are getting some, but not nearly what we need.
Well, Mr. Hicks and Mr. Mitchum, thank you both so much for answering the questions and for your introduction as well. Wish you both the best, and have a good rest of your evening. Thank you so much for willing to serve Jackson County.
Thanks a lot.
And can we do our
Thank you,
closing
guys.
statement, or
Pardon me?
can we do our closing statements?
Yeah, my mistake. I thought we were doing closing statements. I didn't see it on the on this info sheet, but that's correct. Let's do our closing statements. Mr. Mitchum, you go first.
Okay, thank you. And a quick response to the broadband too. I didn't get to answer that question, but just bringing in more competition would help to make it affordable, and maybe looking at public-private partnerships, as a way to help incentivize that. For my closing statement, again, I would like to thank you all for the Jackson Chamber of Commerce and Tim for moderating this forum. I hope voters were able to get more information about both candidates and what county commissioners do. I earnestly want to represent everyone in District 1 and Jackson County, and I'll commit to holding public town halls when I'm elected to hear directly from constituents. I'd also like to see technology utilized to enhance communication and transparency, even live streaming meetings. I would like to address the elephant in the room, or maybe more appropriately, the donkey. In my opinion, I wish this was a nonpartisan race, because roads, sewers, recreation, and zoning don't really care which political party you are. And to be honest, I don't either. I mean it when I say it. I want to represent everyone. I know what people say in here about Democrats, and both parties have problems, I think. Democratic candidates are diverse in our composition and perspectives, and I'm proud to run with the other Democrats on this call and my new friend and police officer, Broderick Jackson, running for District 2 on the Board of Commissioners. I'm not really a Nancy Pelosi style of Democrat. Sorry, Nancy, because I've never even been in San Francisco, and I'm not in my 80s. I like to think I'm more like a Katie Porter, John Lewis, Jimmy Carter type of Democrat, or even a John McCain Republican, with strong principles and morals and the passion to help others. I will serve to represent all people in the district, and you can ask anyone who knows me what I'm like. Ask the soccer players and their parents. I'm a straight shooter. I'm humbled to have vocal supporters across the political spectrum, from Bernie Sanders voters to Donald Trump voters, saying they'll vote for me because they know me and they trust me. My website is jamiemitchum.com, and I have campaign sites on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Early voting starts Monday, October 12th at the Gordon Street Elections Office. Please check me out. I'd be honored to earn your vote. If you have ideas, pitch them to Mitchum. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchum. And I apologize there for the last question as well. Thank you for joining us this evening. Mr. Hicks, your closing statement, sir.
I just say thank you for having the forum. I thank everybody for listening this evening. I certainly hope that you'll consider me for another term for you. I think we have achieved a lot since I've been in office. I do think we're headed in the right direction in this county. We've got 4 other great guys that are on the commission. We work well together. We work with the schools. We work with the other municipalities that we have in the county. And it would be my desire to continue to do that. I love Jackson County. I love Jefferson, and I love being here. And I hope you'll vote for me in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Thank you, and have a nice evening.